let's look right here at, I'm going to skip the first part because that was kind of the boring part, just saying where they were all from. But that'll come up later. But we get to the part where Philip is trying to tell Nathanael to come and see Jesus. He says, I want you to meet this guy Jesus. He's pretty cool. And then Nathanael says, he says he's Jesus of Nazareth. And Nathanael's reply is, Nazareth? Can anything good come from there? Now, this is something kind of in human nature is sometimes we think that we're better than a group of people from another place. And that's something that we still do today. Nathanael hears that Jesus is from Nazareth, and he says, his reply is something like, I don't really want to waste my time with someone from Nazareth. Or he thinks, the Messiah, the guy that we've been waiting for, he's not going to come from a place like Nazareth. Back in those times, the people of Jerusalem looked down on the people who lived in Galilee. And the people in Bethsaida looked down on the people from Nazareth. And we kind of do that today, because I grew up in McDonald County. But I spent a lot of time after I got done being homeschooled, I spent a lot of time in Newton County. Who here knows where McDonald County is? You guys have heard of McDonald County? Anyone heard stories about McDonald County or heard things about the people from McDonald County? And whenever I lived in McDonald County, I didn't tell people I was from McDonald County because some of the stories were true. But I kind of claim Newton County. And in Newton County, we kind of had this joke. We would say, did you hear that Newton County is getting a new zoo? And then someone would say, oh, really? I didn't hear about that. And they said, yeah, we're just going to put a fence around McDonald County. But the people in McDonald County, here's the thing, the people in McDonald County would say, hey, McDonald County is getting a zoo. And you say, what? And you say, yeah, we're putting a fence around Arkansas. And I'm sure the people in Arkansas probably said it about the people in Texas. And it kind of...
Texas is awesome.
Arkansas, the people there aren't as dumb as people say they are.
I know. We stereotype and it's bad.
The drivers there are pretty unintelligent. People there are...
Okay, here's the thing. Then you get down to Texas, and then they probably start making fun of the people in New York and call them the Yankees, and and it all starts over from there. So, human nature, it's one of the things that we're it's almost like we're programmed to do that. We look down on some people and think that, we're not like that. We're better than that group of people, and we don't. The people in Newton County don't respect the people from McDonald County because they think that they're from Nazareth. And that's what was going on in this story. And there's people today who hear about Christianity, and they say, I'm not going to waste my time with Christianity because it's from Nazareth. It's something that, you're going to have professors in college, and probably in high school too, you probably already have, who are going to say things about Christianity, and they're going to be like, the smart people aren't Christians, the smart people don't need God. And they're going to say things, they're going to try to make you feel small if you're someone who believes in God. They're going to sneer at you, roll their eyes and dismiss you. And that's kind of what the thinkers do of today, is they look down on some people groups. Has anyone experienced that already? You guys know what I'm talking about? Yeah. And I had teachers who would say stuff to me like, are you dumb enough to believe this stuff in the Bible? And I said, I am that dumb. But dismissiveness is deadly. That's the thing. If Nathanael hadn't gone along to meet Jesus, if he had just said he's from Nazareth and blown him off, Nathanael never would have had his life changed. Let me tell you a short story about something that happened this week, and I'm not allowed to identify the person who's in this story, and this person has not even to identify my relationship with that person. But there's this person that I live with, and for years she's made fun of my Snuggie. Do you guys know what a Snuggie is?
Yes.
Okay. Whenever you're playing video games, if your hands are on the blanket, they're going to get sweaty and you're going to slip on the booze. So you guys know how it is.
Usually.
So you have the Snuggie, your arms are out, and it's way easier. Yep. But for the past 2 years, every time I got my Snuggie out, I was dismissed. We're not going to say any names.
We can't say names yet.
We're not naming names. But this past week, the person that I lived with got a little bit cold because the temperature went down, and she was reading, and so she got my Snuggie, and now she's Snuggie's #1 fan. I don't think that's an exaggeration. But here's the thing: for years, she had dismissed the Snuggie, and then whenever she experienced it for herself, we're not. But you guys see the point. If you just dismiss something and say you're never going to go there, then you could be missing out on something really great. So you're going to have people today, and they're going to say Christianity is from Nazareth. I don't want anything to do with it, and roll their eyes. And that's a problem. Here's the thing. Most of the people who, when Christianity presented to them and they turn it down, 99% of the time, they already think that they know what it's about. And they're always wrong. And I mean, if they dismissed it, really, I think if you know the truth of Christianity, if anyone really understands it, I think that they will want to find out more about it. Or they'll be curious about it at least and want to become a Christian. But 99% of the time, they think they already know what it's about. So just today, one of my friends on Facebook was going on about religion and talking about how everyone needs to find God for themselves. And they said something about, I just quoted a Bible verse. I'm not recommending Facebook evangelism, but with this guy, the relationship that I had with him, I put a Bible verse that I thought he would find interesting on his status. And normally I'd like you guys to do this kind of thing face to face with people, but I just wanted to see what he would respond with. So he replied back and he said, Christianity is just like all those other religions. It's just a way to find happiness. And so I responded and I said, well, that's not really what it's about. I mean, Christianity, a lot of times, it can make your life harder. Isn't that true?
Yeah.
I mean, for everybody, there's ways that it's going to make your life harder. You're going to have to say no to things that you want to do. And it's not, I think Christianity can make you happy, but the point of it is not to make you happy. And I want to say follow it because you want to believe that. I don't want to say follow it because it'll make you feel more fulfilled, but follow it because it's true. That's what it should come down to. And so I'll move on from there. But okay, so Nathanael says Nazareth. Can anything good come from there? And Philip says, "Come and see." And we're from, what's Missouri slogan?
Show me.
Right. We say, "Show me." We say, "Put your money where your mouth is." If someone says something, we want them to back it up. Is that right?
Don't be on coffee.
Philip says, "Come and see." Jesus doesn't want you to just take everything. I mean, faith is important, but we don't have to take everything on faith. We can test Jesus out and see if the stuff in the Bible is true. We can check these things out. It's not going to hurt God's feelings. There's nothing wrong with it if you have doubts, or if you want to bring those things before God and say, "God, I don't understand this." He says, "Come and see." So when Jesus saw Nathanael approaching, he said of him, "He is a true Israelite, in whom there is no deceit." Okay, so right there, Jesus is saying something about Nathanael. The first time that they met, he says, "In him there's no deceit." Probably what this is referring to is Nathanael, I think, was like an outspoken kind of guy. He's probably someone who, those kind of people who speak their mind? Does anyone here know that kind of person? Maybe some of you are that kind of person. They don't hide what's on the inside, they just say it. And I think that's what we see with Nathanael when he says, "Nazareth, can anything good come from there?" I think that Jesus is saying this is someone who just says, there's no deceit in him. He just says what he's thinking. You know exactly where he's coming from. And whenever Jesus says that, Nathanael says, "How do you know me?" So Nathanael's like, "Oh, you nailed me. You know who I am." And Jesus answered, "I saw you while you were still under the fig tree before Philip called you." We don't know what's under the fig tree or what happened under the fig tree. That's just kind of a random line. Does anyone have any idea what was going on under that fig tree? I sure don't.
He could be sitting under it.
He was
Hiding under
whatever it was something that was between him and God, or something that was so intimate that whenever he was under the fig tree, he thought, only me and God know about this. So when Jesus comes and says, "I saw you under the fig tree," that's whenever Nathanael, he responds, "Rabbi, you are the Son of God." That's whenever he gets all excited. Whatever happened under the fig tree, it was something that was some kind of connection that then whenever Jesus came in and he talked about that connection, that's whenever Nathanael could say, "Whoa, I know that you're the real deal." And this is a reason that we can know that the Bible is telling a true account, or this is a true eyewitness testimony of what happened. Because if you were making up a story like this, you wouldn't just throw in a line like, "I saw you under the fig tree," and then never address that again. We never find out what happened under the fig tree. So if someone was making up this story, which is what people accuse the Bible of a lot, they never would have put in a line like that and not explained what the significance of it was or how it related to anything else in the story. But that's one reason that we can trust that it really happened. So then Nathanael declared, "Rabbi, you are the Son of God. You are the King of Israel." And Jesus' response was, "You believe because I told you I saw you under the fig tree? you shall see greater things than that. So Jesus is kind of saying, hold up, you're jumping into this too quickly. Like, the guy believes in Jesus, he's already excited about it, and Jesus, like, slow down for a minute. He wants him to think this out, because with Christianity, it's not wrong to think it out. And I mentioned doubts a minute ago. Whenever you have doubts or struggles with something, having trouble believing the Bible is true, maybe you had one of those like professors who were putting doubts in your mind. I would never say to you, don't think about those things, just have faith. I'm never going to tell you something like that. That's the wrong way to go about it, because if I said that, it'll either get worse, you'll just keep dwelling on it, and you'll think, I'm not supposed to talk about this, or you'll think that there's no answer for it. Honestly, there's an answer to almost any question you might have about the Bible. I can't tell you what's under the fig tree, but there is almost always an answer out there. If I don't know the answer, I'll say I don't know. But I'll try to help you find those things, or if you have a tough question. I'm not just going to say...
What's on the fig tree?
I'm not going to say, don't... I was in a bookstore the other day, and I was looking at the books on apologetics, or this was a few months ago. But the bookstore lady was asking what kind of books I was looking for, and I told her, apologetics are books, those kind of books are about answering tough questions. And so I explained to her what that was all about. And this is a Christian bookstore. The lady who worked there, she's like, people aren't supposed to ask questions like that. You're just supposed to take things on faith. And I'm like, well, faith is important. We take things on faith. But if you have questions about things like, how does this work in Christianity? There is almost always an answer out there for it. And whenever you find those answers, it builds your faith. It makes it easier to believe. Because now you know how it all fits together. So, what?
So show me stage.
Yeah, show me, exactly. So, come and see. There's nothing wrong with having those kind of questions. So don't ever feel like you can't bring those questions out. Because people will tell you things like, they'll say horrible things about God, like that God commanded genocide, and that God told people to own slaves. And then people who have those kind of accusations don't usually know what they're talking about. Or if you ask them where that is in the Bible, 99% of the time they just heard it from someone and they couldn't actually tell you. So anyway, if you have questions like that, go ahead and bring that to me, or search it out yourself. But don't feel like I have doubts, or here's Jesus saying, you believe because I told you I saw you under the fig tree, you shall see greater things than that. He's saying, don't just jump into this from like an emotional experience. Don't just get excited and jump into Christianity, because what happens to people who become a Christian because they get all excited about it? What happens when the excitement goes away?
And they'll be done.
Yeah. A few weeks later, when they're not excited anymore, they walk away, and it never really became, it hadn't impressed on their heart and became real to them.
It was like a fad.
Yeah, so I don't just bring someone into, they say they want to be a Christian, I make sure they understand what they're wanting to do before I lead someone into a prayer like that, because Jesus said you have to count the cost whenever you make that kind of decision. And becoming a Christian, it's not something just to make your life happier. There are sacrifices you have to make whenever you do that. But what time is it right now?
7:48.
7:48. Okay. Well, I'm just about done. There's just one more aspect to this. Jesus says, he added, I tell you the truth. You shall see heaven open and angels of God ascending and descending on the Son of Man. I didn't see anybody fall out of their chair whenever I read that. But here's the thing. Whenever Jesus says, I tell you the truth, it means he's about to drop something heavy on you. So if you read it and you just kind of like, oh, okay, that sounds nice. If it doesn't shock you, or if it doesn't seem hard to believe, then you probably haven't really understood what he was saying. So he says, I tell you the truth. So this is going to be something hard to understand. He says, you shall see heaven open and the angels ascending and descending on the Son of Man. There's some debate about what he's referring to, but here's what I think makes the most sense. There's a story in the Old Testament. It's about Jacob. A lot of you heard of Jacob. It's in Genesis, the very first book of the Bible. And he fell asleep and had a dream. And there was a ladder or a stairway to heaven. And he said in his dream that angels were going up and down the ladder. Does anybody remember that story?
No.
It's one that is, it's not one of the big ones like Jesus walking on water.
The one where that lady was the thing, she saw the staircase.
Someone that
Nope,
climbed the ladder.
It's not that,
very
but
top.
so Jacob had a dream and there was a ladder or a stairway. It's different in different translations, but the angels were going up and down, coming up and down from heaven. And here Jesus is saying, you'll see the angels of God going up and down on me. So he's saying, I am that ladder to heaven. He's saying, I am that connection that's going to bridge heaven to earth. Because whenever he came and died on the cross, he made a way for us to go up to heaven. So isn't that cool?
That is cool. I never thought of it that way.
Trojan.